Second World War 1939 to 1945. World War II, also called Second World War, was a conflict that involved virtually every part of the world during the years 1939 to 45. The principal belligerents were the Axis powers, Germany, Italy, and Japan, and the Allies, France, Great Britain, the United States, the Soviet Union, and, to a lesser extent, China. It was the biggest conflict in history that had lasted almost 6 years. Nearly some 100 million people had been militarized, and 50 million had been killed, around 3% of the world's population. Causes of war. The major causes of World War II were numerous. They include: failure of Treaty of Versailles. Following World War I, Germany was forced to sign the Treaty of Versailles. Failure of the League of Nations. It was an international organization set up in 1919 to keep world peace. Great Economic Depression of 1929. The worldwide economic depression of the 1930s took its toll in different ways in Europe and Asia. Rise of fascism. Benito Mussolini established the first fascist, European dictatorship during the interwar period in Italy in 1922. Rise of Nazism. Adolf Hitler, the leader of the German National Socialist, Nazi, Party, preached a racist brand of fascism. In 1933 Hitler became the German Chancellor, and moves himself as dictator. Policy of appeasement. Hitler openly denounced the Treaty of Versailles and began secretly building up Germany's army and weapons. Although Britain and France knew of Hitler's actions, they thought a stronger Germany would stop the spread of communism from Russia. Britain and France allowed Germany to annex areas in Czechoslovakia where German speakers lived. Germany agreed not to invade the rest of Czechoslovakia or any other country. However, in March 1939, Germany broke its promise and invaded the rest of Czechoslovakia. Key turning points of the World War II. The World War II starts. However, the German invasion of Poland on the 1st of September 1939 and subsequently 2 days later, Britain and France declared war on Germany. This marked the beginning of World War II. Ribbentrop Pact. By the early part of 1939 the German dictator Adolf Hitler had become determined to invade and occupy Poland. Secret negotiations in August 1939 led to the signing of the German-Soviet Non-Aggression Pact in Moscow. Further, Russia followed Germany into Poland in September and Poland was carved up between the two invaders before the end of the year. Winter War 1940. The Winter War between Russia and Finland concluded in March. And in the following month Germany invaded Denmark and Norway. Denmark surrendered immediately, but the Norwegians fought on, with British and French assistance, surrendering in June 1940. Fall of France 1940. After war with Scandinavian countries got over, Germany invaded France, Belgium, and Holland. During this phase, the Western Europe encountered the Blitzkrieg, or Lightning War. In France an armistice was signed with Germany, with the puppet French Vichy government. Having conquered France, Hitler turned his attention to Britain. Battle of Britain 1940. Lasting from July to September 1940, it was the first war to be fought solely in the air. Germany took decisions to attack from airfields and factories to the major cities, but somehow the Royal Air Force managed to squeak a narrow victory. War getting global. With continental Europe under Nazi control and Britain safe, for the time being, the war took on a more global dimension in 1941. Following the defeat of Mussolini's armies in Greece and Tobruk, German forces arrived in North Africa and invaded Greece and Yugoslavia in April 1941. Operation Barbarossa. After facing defeat in Britain, Hitler broke the Ribbentrop Pact and invaded Russia in 1941 and Moscow coming under attack at the end of the year. The bitter Russian winter crippled the Germans. The Soviets counterattacked in December and the Eastern Front stagnated until the spring. Pearl Harbor. The Japanese, tired of American trade embargoes, mounted a surprise attack on the U.S. Navy base of Pearl Harbor, in Hawaii, on the 7th of December 1941. This ensured that global conflict commenced, with Germany declaring war on the US a few days later. Also, within a week of Pearl Harbor, Japan had invaded the Philippines, Burma, and Hong Kong. American entry into the war. Through the Battle of Midway 1942, the US entered World War II. In this battle, US sea-based aircraft destroyed 4 Japanese carriers and a cruiser, marking the turning point in World War II. Also, the news of mass murders of Jewish people by the Nazis reached the Allies, and the US pledged to avenge these crimes. Reversal of German fortunes. By the second half of 1942, British forces gained the initiative in North Africa and Russian forces counterattacked at Stalingrad. In February 1943, Germany surrendered at Stalingrad to Soviet Union. This was the first major defeat of Hitler's armies. Further, German and Italian forces in North Africa surrendered to the Allies. The Russians reached Berlin, capital of Germany, on the 21st of April 1945. Hitler killed himself on the 30th, 2 days after Mussolini had been captured and hanged by Italian partisans. Germany surrendered unconditionally on the 7th of May, and the following day was celebrated as Victory in Europe Day. The war in Europe was over. Nuclear bombing and the end. Such bombs had been in development since 1942, and on the 6th of August 1945 one of them was dropped on the Japanese city of Hiroshima. 3 days later another was dropped on Nagasaki, and then Japanese surrendered on the 14th of August. With the surrender of Japan, World War II was finally over. After World War II, new superpowers to the USA and the USSR. Start of decolonization. Birth of UN. Start of Cold War. New economic world order. IBRD, now known as World Bank, and International Monetary Fund, IMF, formed. Also, the US dollar was established as a reserve currency for the world trade. Thank you.